Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to another episode of Simply Susan, where we explore historical sewing, cooking, and living. Today, we are at a part of the battlefield in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The area that we are at is where the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry fought. You can see their monument there, which we will talk about in more detail, but over here to my left, you can see this very small marker that indicates LF 49th PV, and that is where the left flank of the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry started. Now, we're going to walk down here a little bit, and basically, I wanted to come out to this site and walk this ground and tell you a little bit more about some of the people in my family history and just a little bit about this unit that was mustered out of Juniata County. Now, I do have some notes here, and I apologize for that, but I want to make sure that I get the information correct that I give to you. So the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry was a unit that was organized in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. And then they mustered into service September 14th, 1861 out of Camp Curtin in Harrisburg. The Pennsylvania 49th fought in many notable battles throughout the course of the Civil War, including the Battle of Bull Run, Appomattox, Antietam, and right here where we are today in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I find all aspects of history interesting. You know that. But for me, I find that Gettysburg is personally even more fascinating and hits very close to home, as this is the unit that my great-great-grandfather, William Mauger, fought with. And this is the exact area that he was fighting at when he was here in Gettysburg. If you've been following along, a few episodes ago, we did a brief tour through Juniata and Perry counties and where we visited some different graves. One of the graves that we visited was that of William Mauger. Now, a little bit of more detail about Mr. Mauger. William Henry Mauger was born in East Nantmeal Township, Berks County, Pennsylvania on April 26, 1840. He was the child of John Mauger and Suzanne, or sometimes known as Anne Kearns. When he reached adulthood, he moved to Juniata County with his uncle, Michael Mauger. He may have lived in Port Royal initially for a short time, but then soon moved to Spruce Hill Township in Juniata County. So when Mr. Mauger made his way to Spruce Hill Township in Juniata County, in 1860 he was employed as a millwright. In 1870, he was a sawyer, and in 1880, he was employed as a carpenter. The evidence that I found shows that Mr. Mauger stood 5'9", which is just an inch taller than I stand right now. He had brown hair, blue eyes, and a fair complexion. When Mr. Mauger first enlisted with the Army, he enrolled on September 3rd of 1861, and he was initially enlisted with the Company I of the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry. Later, however, he became part of Company A, and that's where he eventually mustered out of in 1865. What I have here is a photocopy of the Civil War journal that William H. Mauger kept while he was fighting the Civil War. Each of the pages is copied exactly as it was when he wrote it, and this is the journal that he carried with him while he was fighting. Throughout the course of his service, William had a very successful career. He fought in many notable battles. He was taken as a prisoner of war. He was severely injured on 2 occasions, and through all of this, he was eventually promoted as high as 2nd lieutenant before he mustered out of service. So although Mr. Mauger that we're here talking about today, we're talking about his life as a soldier, he also was a very good family man too. On May 3rd, 1866, he married his first wife, Sarah, who was also known as Sally, and her maiden name was Hoffman. They had 2 sons in this marriage, Charles and Edgar. Sally, however, unfortunately passed away at the age of 27 on April 23rd, 1871. I think it is interesting to note, however, that she did publish a last will and testament on April 19th, just 4 days before her death. So perhaps her death was that of some type of an illness or not a traumatic event. Still probably traumatic, but okay. After the unfortunate passing of Sarah or Sally, on June 24th, 1874, a few years later, William married his second wife, Mary Jane Blaine, whose maiden name was Mary Jane Flickinger. They went on to have 3 children. Cora May Mauger, who is my great-grandmother. She was born on March 25th, 1875. Rebecca Allen Mauger, and then Phoebe Ann. I think it's also interesting to note that Cora and Rebecca both lived extremely long lives, both of them living to well over 90 years of age. Although some of William's children were granted with long, full lives, William himself, however, unfortunately was not. On August 20th, 1880, William succumbed to an illness and passed away at the age of 40. Although his life was short, I think that there's plenty of evidence to support that his life was one that was well lived, and that his life was one that was full of love for his country and love for his family. Now, as you can see, we are here at the monument that is dedicated to the 49th Pennsylvania Infantry. And this monument describes a little bit more about what this unit saw while they were in battle. It describes when they were organized, it describes when they mustered out, all of the members of this regiment that were killed, wounded, missing in action. So while we're here at the monument that is dedicated to the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry, I would like to read the words that William wrote while his unit was approaching Gettysburg before they actually arrived, and then a little bit about what their involvement was here in Gettysburg. So William Mauger writes, July 1st, Thursday, we lay in camp all day, packed up at dark, and marched all night. We reached the Baltimore Pike at daylight on the 2nd. Now, the fighting had already started here in Gettysburg. The fighting started on July 1st, and this was before William Mauger's unit reached this location. The Baltimore Pike would be over to my left, a good bit through the trees and through the fields. And that's the area that they came from. And we saw earlier where we first stopped to talk that was where the left flank line was at when they were here at this location. William Mauger goes on to write regarding July 2nd. He puts the 2nd. Marched to Pennsylvania lines again, 10 o'clock. Then stopped to rest near the line at Littlestown, and marched on near the battlefields of Gettysburg. Heavy fighting in the afternoon. Ceased at night. All quiet at night. Lay in line of battle all night. Fair. So it sounds like when they came up to this location, they came through a lot of heavy fighting, which did stop at night. But from the way I'm understanding it, they lay in the lines of their battle all night. So can you just imagine what that would have been like? After laying in the lines of battle all night on July the 2nd, we move on to July 3rd. Now, July 3rd was what was recognized as the last major day of battle in Gettysburg, but William describes a few other incidents further on. But so as far as for July 3rd, he puts July 3rd, packed up at 4 o'clock and moved to the left and made breastworks of rails and lay in line of battle until 2 o'clock. We then marched to the right a little and lay until dark, when we moved back and encamped for the night. Hard fighting all day, at night quiet. Fair. So over to our right is where we will approach Little Round Top. And from what I can gather and understand, it appears that they went over to the area of Little Round Top, and that's where they built some of the breastworks that we will see over there when we take a drive to that area. Now, after the battle ended on July 4th, we still had all of these troops here in Gettysburg, and they had to head on their way out. And it sounds like, although the battle itself was over, there probably were still some Union and Confederate engagements after that. On July 4th, William Mauger indicates that we packed up at 7 and marched to the front. Our company was on the 2nd skirmish line. We lay there among the rocks all day and night, firing all day on the line. Rain. Then after that day, and this is the last that he was near Gettysburg, because at that point they moved back further south. But on Sunday, July 5th, packed up at 5 o'clock and moved back from picket line and a little to the right and lay there an hour. We then about faced and moved on to the right, and beyond Gettysburg had a skirmish with the Rebs' rear guard. We then stopped for the night. All quiet at night. Rain. Although at the time of the battle, obviously, this paved road wouldn't be here. We would be looking at fields and trees, and we'd also be looking at thousands and thousands of men and bodies and horses and cannons and just incomprehensible fighting. But I just find it just amazing. Even though I can't fully understand what it would have been like, this path that I just walked was the line of battle that my great-great-grandfather fought on and laid on. And here is the marker that shows where that flank ended. So you can see from here, this right flank, the monument, and then the left flank marker where we were at is the land where the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry was, primarily during the Battle of Gettysburg and the Civil War. Here we are approaching the right-hand side of Little Round Top. You can see this marker that does indicate when this wall of stone was built, which goes directly along with what William Mauger recorded in his journal. Thank you for joining me in this journey through the Gettysburg Battlefield where the Pennsylvania 49th Infantry fought and worked. I appreciate your time and I enjoy sharing my history with you. Thank you.